They say that matter is all things that make up the universe, energy, stars, space. If that's the case, then you, dear child, matter. I wish I could have had something like this that told me, you know what, you're fine just the way you are, and you matter just like that. So the one thing that I can do to reckon all of that is I can write a book like All Because You Matter.
We hope these discussions remind you of your strength and the incredible power of books to heal, to comfort, and most of all, to connect.
So I hope that this gives educators permission to start a conversation they may never have had before, and it gives themselves the okay to talk about race. It is not taboo.
And I also really wanted to have Black kids in general see themselves as heroes and see themselves meeting challenges and overcoming challenges.
I had readers take away one thing. It would be that your challenges, the things that challenge you, are also your source of strength.
Your worth is not determined by if or how people see you.
The power of story is also the ability to tell your story.
It's an approximation to the human heart.
You're trying to get at the truth.
But I love that my students will be able to see themselves in your book.
Brianna and Faye are the kind of characters I wish I had when I was growing up. They're Afro-Latinx role models who always try to do the right things, and sometimes they stumble, which is normal.
And everyone's family looks different, but that doesn't make them any less. There's no perfect sort of unit.
We need to also center joy in our stories, because the experience of people of color is not just an experience of trauma. It is also an experience of overcoming that trauma.
Always find the hope, because we need the hope to keep fighting the fight.
Kids will come up to my table at a convention and I'll have prints of that Tristan Strong cover or the Shuri cover. And little 6-year-old, 7-year-olds will point at it and say to their mommy, that looks like me. So it's a big deal.
My hope is that kids can become inspired and be the best versions of themselves.
If you glorify reading, maybe more kids will read.
Kids can make a difference today. That kids can be the difference today.
What child doesn't want to hear that they matter? Think about that, those words and what it does to you.
Hello, welcome to the Power Stories Speaker Series. I'm your host, Lizette Serrano, VP of Educational Marketing at Scholastic. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. Today's event is extra special and intended to spark joy. We're celebrating the one-year publication of an extraordinary picture book created by 2 extraordinary storytellers. In this celebration, we're honored to be co-hosting this event with The Conscious Kid. The Conscious Kid sees children's book as one of the most effective and practical tool for empowering young people to participate in the movement for racial justice and initiate these critical conversations with our children. They're amazing advocates working to get these books into every classroom across the country. In partnership with The Conscious Kid, I am so excited to announce that Scholastic will be donating 500 copies of All Because You Matter to the Detroit Public Schools Community District in Detroit, Michigan. Yay! If you're searching for opportunities to assist with making an impactful change in our world, I encourage you to start following The Conscious Kid today. All Because You Matter is a poetic and powerful anthem to children everywhere, especially for Black and Brown children, a love letter that reassures them that their worth is never diminished, no matter the circumstance. You matter is a phrase that carries deep meaning and can never be said enough. New York Times bestselling author Tami Charles lyrically wove these words and the meaning behind them throughout the book, handing it like a present to each and every reader. And making this picture book a match made in heaven, multiple award-winning and beloved artist Bryan Collier's brilliantly crafted approach is deeply influenced by his family and ancestors. His vibrant art empowers readers to feel pride and joy and wraps them in comfort, inspiration at its best. Speaking of inspiration, this is the perfect segue to welcome our other guest, Vera Ahiyya, who's known affectionately as the Tutu teacher, for spreading light and love to her kindergarten classroom and to many, many of her followers online. Having come from a long line of educators, Vera created a video about race for her students with the hope of inspiring and encouraging other teachers to include race in their classroom conversations. This video has been viewed by millions and inspired Vera's debut picture book, You Have a Voice, is available on December 7th. Congratulations, Vera. And welcome to Tami and Bryan. Oh
Hello.
My gosh, I am filled with joy. I want to kick off our evening conversation with Tami and Bryan. Welcome. It's been quite a year. It's hard to believe this book is 1 year old. Pub last October. How have the events of the last year, both related to the book and the world in general, change your feelings and perception of this book and its place in the world? Let's talk about it. Who wants to go first?
Tami.
I'll go first. So this was the fastest story I've ever written. And most writers know that sometimes, it takes us a while to get going, but this was literally, it came to me like a dream, almost like a lullaby. And I dreamt the words, I dreamt the art. I knew it was Bryan's art. And it was so fast that I kind of like woke up and wrote it down, and I knew that I was on to something. But when I first wrote it, I figured that this was, okay, this is just for my son. I'm writing this for my son. Fast forward to the start of the pandemic, I think that's what really helped me see, whoa, this is bigger than just my one baby. This is for all the babies. This is for all the children. So, during the pandemic, there were lots of things that we bore witness to. And my son and I, we got a chance to really grow closer because I feel like he felt very comfortable coming to me and talking to me about these tough topics that he previously would have been shy and a bit scared to ask about. But yeah, just in this past year, I've really seen the need for this book and how it's beneficial for sparking conversation about those tough topics for young kids.
Absolutely. I know for me, Bryan, I've said that this book has made me felt people reading it grounds me. It has ground me, made me feel stable in the world and what we need in terms of tools for, empowering ourselves to to serve our children. This is definitely a book that does that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I echo everything that Tami said, but in the time that we live in, it drilled home so perfectly because our world was flipped upside down, and we needed to grasp on to an anchor, and I felt like this book is the anchor to that, and it's the kind of anchor that you can't pull up. It's the kind of anchor that will settle us for the rest of our lives because it never lets you go. You can't get out of it. From 8 to 80, you can't get out of it because it's so profound and prophetic. And it was at the perfect time. Oh, the world needed it. And it still does because everybody that hasn't seen it yet. And what I proposed, even after the book was done, I said, okay, yeah, we're going to read this to our children because they need to know that even before they were born, there was a place made for them on this planet. But then I always talk about the full circle approach to making stories and telling stories. Now, the kids got to read it to their caregivers and their parents too, because we all need that message. That because the world is so chaotic, we forget, wait a minute, you're important. There's a place just for you. Every blessing is yours. It was made just for you. Was it made for your neighbor or your other family members? It's yours. So you matter. And we need to say that to each other. And I think this book carries that kind of weight. It's not just for the kids, it's for all, it goes all the way through from beginning to end. And it never stops. It's universal. So that's what I'm so proud about being in it. And the way Tami phrases her message, and it makes you levitate. It's so amazing. So I'm so awesome and proud to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Vera, hi.
Hi.
For educators in New York and around the country, this year has been an overwhelming one. And, we still have a couple months to go. We have now kids back in the classroom, which is a wonderful feeling, being back together. But it, brings along challenges, returning to normalcy. How has this book, All Because You Matter, helped you in your return to the classroom?
Yeah, I think that one of the ways that this book in particular has just kind of helped grounded my purpose is that it's so accessible for young children. It's so beautifully written and beautifully illustrated that I feel like the work is already there for you. Like, it just lays everything out to start these important, and I hate using the word controversial because I don't think that my race is a controversy, but I know for some educators it can feel overwhelming to start these conversations, but this book is just ready for you to start. And in the time of teaching where we're in right now, where everything feels overwhelming, we have another thing to do, we're teaching without masks, there's already this mild disconnection. This book can bring connection. This book can bring starting a conversation that many of our kids might not have had before. And the great thing about being face-to-face is you get to see those reactions live. You get to build on their questioning and their curiosity. So I'm just so thankful that, this book is celebrating its 1-year anniversary, but I'm so happy that we keep it relevant. We keep it at the forefront of our minds. It's integrated into our curriculum. It's integrated into homes. Because it's something that we should be reading and rereading and revisiting and talking about, and hopefully changing lifestyles, changing behavior because of this book.
Yes, and it's a good, also, Vera, you wrote the All Because You Matter reading guide that can be used at home, in classrooms. It really does, expand on the conversations you can have, along with great affirmational activities. The last time we chatted, you had done the I Am Special activity. Is there a new favorite or another one of your activities that you're that gives you that spark of affirmation you need with your students and yourself?
Yeah, so this year, again, we're back in person, so we're trying to fill the room with our students' identities and things that are important to them. So for me, the focus on names and how your name matters and how it's important that you correct people when they say your name incorrectly, or writing it big and proud and decorating it. So there's a part in the educational resource where students are asked to write their name as big as possible, to detail it, to decorate it, to be proud of their name. As somebody whose name I had never heard of until I grew older, I know I struggled with loving my name. And so now it's something that I'm so proud of. And I want young people to be proud of their name from the minute they walk into our classrooms, that they see themselves not only with their name, but that they see themselves truly in our classroom and integrated into everything we do. So yeah, I think it might be the names for right now.
I love that too. It's a good practice along with You Matter. I am Lizette. I matter to this. Yeah, it's a good exercise for young people, even for ourselves, to reflect and say that to each other. It's really powerful. So Vera, I'm gonna pass over the mic to you to talk to Tami and Bryan a little bit more about the book.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So again, I'm just so happy to be here a year later. What I think is great about revisiting this book in particular a year later is we know that a lot of people may have moved on from having these conversations, and they felt like, well, I posted the black square on social media, so that they've done their part. And so revisiting these conversations, I'm hoping, is that little mental scratch for people of like, oh yeah, it's not over. It's not done. We have to keep going. So Bryan, you set
Yes.
up a theme or repeated pattern within all of your books, specifically in All Because You Matter. All Because You Matter, it is so strong. How was that theme influenced by Tami's words?
Well, thematically, what I came up with based on the text was every time any kid walks into a room, they never walk alone. They walk with everybody that prays for them, that loves them, that cares about them. There's family, there's friends. That's what you actually walk in the room with. And I wanted to talk about that aura, and then I layered it with ancestors and faces, and it's a talking point. It's a visual talking point when the kids read the words and they look at the pictures. I don't necessarily try to mimic the words. I want to run a visual storyline that runs parallel and connect to the text, but expand it and have those other conversations along with the text itself. So, All Because You Matter, your knapsack full of wishes, all those beautiful phrases. And under that and within that visually, you see these faces. They're like petals, and they change forms and they change meaning. That's all visual learning. And that's me expanding the text, the conversation, and also keeping you interested visually, hopefully, and question what you see. Because I want them to examine the book, not just read it, but examine it, what they're reading and how it pertains to what they're reading visually. So all those things come into play. So I call it a wonderful dance between me and Tami, visual and the literal word and the actual word. And some places I back out and the words jump out at you in a forceful way and then sometimes I'm more involved and more intricate. I'm going in and out because I think that's a dynamic book. That's a living testimony right there in the book. So I think that's interesting, and I try to stay interested. For me, I want to be interested and excited as well. So I try to bring that energy to the text.
Can you talk about, because as you were talking about like the layers of the illustrations, I was thinking about how some of the movements of Black culture are woven throughout the illustrations. Can you give us just a couple examples of those?
Well, all of that is a part of the visual storyline. It all comes out. If you're talking about children of color and our plight in this world and the things that are happening right outside our window, all that has to come in to play as well. We go all the way back through history and we zoom through history, through the stars. So, the text would make me do that. The text says, well, we're going from outer space. We're going to dream beyond Earth and dream throughout time. It's a time machine, and we're gonna go right through it. And then we're going to talk about what's happening right in front of us with Black Lives Matters. All that is all a part of that. You can't escape that. We would be remiss if we did the book and then that wasn't there, based on our lives and our reality that's happening. And part of the truth that came out of Tami, when her son asked her all these profound questions about the world around her. Somebody has to tell the truth. So Tami started it. And then it was my job to come in and tell a visual truth about what's happening. So all those images are so important.
Thank you. I loved that idea of truth. I love that so much. So Tami, last year we talked about your use of the word matter as both a verb and a noun. How do you feel that Bryan's illustrations make the word matter in either form?
So I feel like I said this last year. I didn't know that I did that. I didn't know that when I wrote it, I just wrote it. I don't think it was intentional at first, using the word matter as both verb and noun. But, you know, thinking back, I get it. Like, I'm happy that it has been perceived that way. It wasn't like intentional, but yeah, now that it's a year later, I can see how it makes sense, you know, the being and the doing. And sidebar, I just got to say, one of my favorite parts of the illustration are those petals and the faces in the petals. Like, you could take my words away and see those petals and see the different faces and literally hear your ancestors whispering in your ears.
Yeah.
And you don't even need my words. You can just have the art, Bryan's art, and the message would still be there. So yeah, the being and the doing is really where I feel like Bryan just elevated that. Like, he showed it through the art, the fact of, you know, matter as a verb and matter as a noun. Like, I tried to do that my best with the words, but he really took it to the next level. You know, the fact that our children matter because they are literally a part of this world. There's a place for them here, and the art affirms their worth along with the words, but also they matter because of the doing, right? The ancestors who came before them and laid that groundwork, did all the hard work, those brave actions, so that we today could have, you know, better opportunities, a brighter future. But the children, I hope their takeaway is, okay, I matter because of these people who came before me. I matter because I have this place in the world, but the work doesn't stop. Like, now, like, the torch has been passed to me. I now have to take, you know, that knapsack full of wishes that all my teachers and ancestors and parents and, you know, that everyone has for me. Now I have to pass that on and be that symbol so that I can show other people that they matter. It's all, you know, cyclical.
I love that. I really think that that's like the next step of the book. Like, as we read and reread, taking and holding on to that, we are all connected. It's like a whole journey that we're going through together. I think the first step is the knowledge. And then now what do we do with that knowledge forward? And that's what's great about your book. It's not a moment in time, even though it feels like, you know, the summer of awakening or reawakening we had feels like it's a moment in time, but it can't be. And that we have to have this momentum, and we have to keep going back, and we have to keep looking forward. It's just so well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bryan.
Yes. Thank you.
I was gonna mention, Tami, I feel like you're a lover of languages. In this book, you know, there's other languages you use, like barrios and Mahakita. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a traveler first and foremost. My family, I feel my family is a real representation of diversity within diversity. Obviously, I speak English, but some of the other languages that are in my family are Haitian Creole and Spanish. Growing up, I had a best friend who's Filipino, and so I did pick up some of the language growing up. It's just a beautiful language, and I think that taking the time to honor and respect other cultures, you know, just that small effort to learn, even if it's just a phrase, I think that people admire that. So I was really just trying to pay homage to, you know, all children of color. And that when I hear Mahal Kita, I really feel like it sounds like love. So I wanted it in there. And I've gotten good response. Like I've had like parents, like Filipino parents reach out to me and thank me for putting that in there, and how excited their kids were just to see those 2 words, you know, in the book.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. I know Christopher, Tami, your son Christopher was a model, but also inspired you writing this book. This question's for Bryan, though. We have this beautiful young Black boy on the cover, and I'm wondering for you as a Black man, and just when you were this age, I'm just wondering, and this being, I can't count how many books. It had that. Did that play into something in terms of you putting the cover together, or knowing how you wanted a full face and how he was looking out to the reader? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. I grew up. I never saw a boy that looked like me in a picture book until I got Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. That was the first one, and that's the one that stuck with me. And it hit me so hard at age 4 that just the notion that, wow, this kid really looks like me. So once I got into books, and that was some of the motivating factors for me wanting to make a book. So when we fast forward to this project, absolutely, it was no question. I mean, Tami and we met at a library somewhere, and we shot the book right there. We did a photo shoot. I mean, it sounds more elaborate than what it was. It's just me with my phone. And I just said I had the shots ready, and Christopher was there, and we just did it, and I was stunned at the beauty that came through, and I wanted that young boy, because this thing goes around the planet. Everybody gets to experience our beauty, and that's part of it as well that keeps me excited when I'm here in my studio painting, and I have the subject matter, and I have just what I want. I have the energy between Tami and her son. When we're doing it, it's all love. It's coming out of Tami's eyes. You can see it. It's like, and so we can put all that energy together, and that's what I draw on when I'm here alone making the art for the book, to pour that kind of energy and love into the text. So all that comes together really well.
Yeah. I know even today we can still have self actualization of who we are as a people. We see even that word like you mentioned, Tami, is seeing those words, Filipino, seeing barrio, for me being Puerto Rican, it gives you a sense of worth, a familiarity, of comfort, home.
You felt it, right? You were like,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
As well as knowing what it's going to provide as a mirror for other children and other readers. Vera, we were looking, we're in the chat and just wondering in terms of, we're hearing from teachers, particularly white teachers, how, advice you would give them in terms of, introducing race to young people, especially I think in kindergarten or older. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, start talking about it because it's real. And as somebody who grew up, as one of the only Black children in their classrooms, staying away from trying to make or center children of color as the focus of the conversation, and really just talking about, like, here's what things are. Some people have more melanin than other people, which is why their skin looks darker than other people. Or, enslavement, or people were enslaved and they were not able to make choices for themselves because of a thing called racism. I think that we tend to make a bigger deal out of things that are serious issues and concerns and conversations, but kids are ready to talk about it. And I think if you talk about it factually, if you talk about it honestly, if you even say, like, I didn't know about this, I had to go look it up, this is what I learned, let's have a conversation about it, what have you learned from our conversations? It makes children feel safe to make mistakes. It makes children feel safe to ask questions. I think that's one of the worst things that we do as early childhood educators. We want to hush everything. We want to say, like, oh, no, we don't talk about that right now. Like, no, we don't say those things. And we need to say Black skin. Not even a lie. Today I was passing out skin-colored construction paper, having the children choose by matching it to themselves and having them choose a color that best matched their skin color. And one of my little girls chose brown skin color and was like, I have brown skin. And I was like, yes, you do. Like, it was such a joyous moment because clearly somebody has already talked to her about skin color in a very positive way. And you could just build on it. Like, yes, you do. And like, that's great. And another child chose their skin color and we moved on. But having those conversations as a normal part of the behavior and routines of your classroom helps demystify and unscare a lot of the things that parents are talking about their children, or parents are talking to their children about for whatever reason. You have the opportunity now to break any concerns, to demystify, to get children where we want them to be, and that is accepting, enjoying, questioning, loving, activating their minds for the better.
Yeah. Healthy habit. Honestly. Tami, is there, when you speak to virtual visits or in-person visits, when you speak to young children, is there a particular scene in the book or passage that you draw upon or you direct children to talk about race?
Yes, if I may. Well, I love every single spread in this book, but one of my favorites is this one. If you can see it, the hands with the petals. I love this page because it's not, these are several sets of hands, it's like we're all in this together. And this phrase here, did you know that you are sun rays, calm like ocean waves, tough like montañas, magic like stars in space? Like, you are literally all of this. So when I speak to children, when I speak to students, I love saying this part to them because I want them to know, hey, we're all in this together. You matter. Your friends matter. If you're this color or that color, like, all together, here's humanity on the page, working together, respecting each other. And I think that this phrase just really affirms our children's worth. So yeah, we do this. I also do my own activity. And now I'm not sure if this is Vera's or mine, because I was a teacher as well. But I like to do a Venn diagram. Vera, was that yours or mine? But I'm not sure. But I know there's a Venn diagram.
Yours.
You do that? Oh, it might be mine. Okay. So I usually do a Venn diagram where I have the children label each part. I matter, they matter, and we matter in the middle. And so for each part, I want the students, before I even read the book aloud to them, I want them to think about what are all the ways and all the reasons that I matter, that child that's about to receive the book. And they can do that in words. They can do that with pictures. They can do that however they visually want to in that part of the Venn diagram. Then on the other side of the Venn diagram, I have a section called They Matter. So now I'd like to get children thinking about, okay, why is it that other people matter? Especially people who are different from me. Maybe it's my friends, maybe it's members of my community. Why are they just as important? And in the middle of the Venn diagram, we matter. Why is it important for all of us to matter together? How can we show that we all matter together? And I think it starts with affirming the lives of those who need it most right here, right now, in this moment. Because if we address those issues, then we can lead to, a better world where, we all feel respected. So that's an activity that I like to do with children, just to kind of remind everyone of their worth. I think it's important for kids to know about kindness and empathy. Our children matter for sure, but it's important that their friends can also affirm their worth as well. That's really the only way that we're going into the future the right way, I think.
I think it's a good exercise to do as a family too. I think, Tami. I think that's a
do it at home.
Reconnect. To open up.
Yeah. And these are conversation starters. These are essay starters. If you're in the younger grades and maybe you don't, you can't write full paragraphs yet, though something tells me Vera's students probably do. But like you can literally just paste pictures on there. You can make a collage. It's a really engaging way to get the kids thinking about why they're important, but also why other people are important too.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to share one of my favorite spreads too. It's really powerful. It's kind of it's to me, this is like a great another activity of pause because it's so contemplative, you know. So I love this book and all the pictures, but this is something that stopped me in my tracks in terms of like, again, having a moment to reflect, to open conversations about this book. Bryan, we have to ask you, do you have a particular spread?
That's a hard question for me because
all of them.
You know, they're all connected and they all need each other to go from one step to the next, and they're all connected in that way, and it builds up momentum and tension and all those things. So everything is really, really needed. What I try to keep in mind is that process, that everything in the middle, just before we just finished the book, everything that happened and everything that led up to the next. So I'm only in love with the process of it. I can create. It's the act of creating that's a privilege to create, and to be involved with the wave of the story as I'm making it and building up and trying to bring home all those ideas with the hands and the faces and what I really love about the book is the up close imagery. You can't beat it. It's up close. It's big. It's almost iconic in so many ways, and that was intentional because I don't care how the boy gets. This is forever. When he's 91, reading to his great grandkids, this is what we're talking about. That's the testimony, and that's the legacy that's been built, and making a book like this. It's legacy building. So I'm excited about that kind of thing as well.
I have 2 cents to add. Today on Instagram, I got the most heartwarming message from a grandmother. Her grandson's school, I guess today was like their Halloween day. But I think that the school chose, instead of like your run-of-the-mill scary costumes, it was like dress up as your favorite character. Guys, I don't know if you could see this, but look at that.
Oh, wow. You got
this
the book.
Little boy,
wow,
on the exact green shirt that my son has on, that Bryan painted, and he put stripes across his face. And those stripes, I've heard you speak about this, Bryan, how those aren't just stripes, those are paths, those are rivers and highways.
Yeah, that's what connects us. Yeah.
All the ways that we're connected since the beginning of time. So to see that, oh my gosh, I got tears in my eyes. I don't know this grandmother. I don't know that little kid, but to see that particular child, so joyous, dressing up as a character who is my son, like it was just all full circle for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you, Bryan.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
The legacy. I know, Bryan, you saying, a snowy day, you first saw yourself. Now this, it is. It's like you said, that front side of his eyes, like it's a classic. It's everyone. Yeah. You said everyone needs a copy of this book. I'm gonna bring our conversation to a close with one last question to pose to all of you lovely people. So inspired by the title of this event, what would be your affirmation or love letter for this book and message for readers of all ages?
Man, I feel like Bryan said everything. But can I piggyback off of something that he said?
Please.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite Bryanisms is you mattered before you even got here. So that's my affirmation.
Yeah. She took mine. So.
Sorry.
Absolutely. And I just think that the book does so many great things by just reading and experiencing it that you can't lose with this message in this book and the imagery. And it's going to be, it's timeless. I think it's going to go on and on. It's one of those special books that you can pick it up 50 years from now. It's the same. It'll do the same thing. It'll knock it right out of the park every single time. So,
I like that.
Yeah.
Vera?
I feel like nothing I say will compare. I just feel like, I don't know, like something like around actions too. Like, so your actions matter too. And like taking what you know and moving forward and making a difference and trying to do what's right with all that you know.
Yeah.
Well, I have one, and I'm going to piggyback too, Tami. Because I reread the book again. I don't know how many times. I love it so. But I wanted to read Bryan's dedication in the book, which is as follows. I dedicate this book as a visual love note of welcome to all the children and their families on the planet here today, and to those who have yet to arrive.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So.
Bars, Bryan,
So
thank you.
I'm full with gratitude for all of you and for this book. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Be safe, take care of each other, and happy anniversary, you all, because you matter. Available everywhere.
Yay.
Yay.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.